The Northern Sydney Institute, part of TAFE New South Wales, is based in the Northern Sydney region. We have campuses at Northern Beaches, Hornsby, Meadowbank, St Leonard's, Crow's Nest, a site at Crow's Nest called Bradfield Senior College, Ryde with an Epping annex, and a bushland site at Belrose. We have 52,000 enrolled students, which are full-time, part-time and online, 2,400 staff, of which 656 staff are trained in education for sustainability, 29 staff who are trained in environmental auditing, and we also cover a total area of 62 hectares. Our successes and leadership have been acknowledged through state and national awards in skills for sustainability, as outlined in this slide. Educating for eco-efficiency and innovation is part of our strategic planning. At NSI, the alignment of sustainability and innovation with productivity savings, reduced environmental impact, and skills for relational and critical thinking advantages our students in the workplace. NSI's influence in sustainability goes beyond teaching to the sustainable behaviour of our staff, students, and industry clients to create a multiplier effect for a more sustainable society. As a leader in education for sustainability, our challenge for last year was to engage our teachers and students in the transformative power of education for sustainability, EFS, and to reduce our ecological and carbon footprint.
Well, that's a really tall order for us to do. And of course, we're not completely all there yet. But one of the things that I found critical, working in the field as a teacher for 10 years or so, and working as an environmental educator and an officer in TAFE, is that you have to have agreement from the top as well as that grassroots activity. It's really tricky if we haven't got it from the top. And I know we've heard today from Michael Mobbs how important it is to just get there and do it. But in our big organisations, it's critical that we have our leaders at the top involved in education for sustainability. So just quickly, this is our governance model. We're now under a new business model, so it's changed slightly. But sustainability strategic framework that you can see there, that was imperative that we had agreement from our directors that we would do this. We would embed sustainability into all our training programs, our commercial ones as well as our mainstream training. And that includes our faculties and business lines, our business support people, our college operations and administration. And so that foundation of education for sustainability and our environmental management system meant that we had to get everybody trained. And through the environmental management system, we do auditing of the critical, high-risk areas. And so I think we had a survey and 98% know we have an environmental management system, we're committed to it, and they expect, out of that survey from UTS, they expect, our staff expect our managers to practice what they're teaching. So, that's the whole story with the college environment teams. That's part of Cathy and Karen and myself and others in the campus. That happen at each campus. And they're the ones that link into our peak work groups about the environment. And we had to develop an extra group, an approach to education for sustainability to get the buy-in from the top management. And that seemed to be a critical phase too. So, and through the student associations, the information runs upwards and downwards. So what happens in the peak work group meetings and the faculty and the business support and college operations, they're representatives of all of those in the peak work group. That runs down through the committees and through the student associations.
Our success with environmental initiatives at the Northern Sydney Institute is an outcome of campus librarians and environmental sustainability teams working closely together, and is demonstrated by our ability to engage with our teachers and student body. So now that you know about us as an institute from these slides, we'll look at several specific projects that the libraries have been involved in, along with educators, students, the environmental officer, and campus committees like the environmental committees and student associations. Specific projects that we'll discuss include Green Heart Day, Water Tanks Project, Vertical Herb Garden, Recycling Hubs in the Library, Say No to Bottled Water campaign, Environmental Library Resources, and our Sustainability Treasure Hunt. And then we'll spend a bit more time discussing our experience with Pugwise energy management. So let's start with Green Heart Day. At the Learning and Innovation campus at St Leonard's, the library has been actively involved in the Environmental Committee, with both Cathy Guy and myself as members taking turns to chair it over the last few years. Our committee has organised activities such as Green Heart Day, of which we've hosted a couple now. This was an event we used to raise the profile of sustainability within the campus community. Green Heart Day was originally an initiative of the students in promotions and marketing. They were looking for an event to promote, and the committee suggested an environmental day, so they came up with the slogan, Green Heart Day. They also did the press release for us and organised some of the stallholders. The library staff, together with other environmental committee members, also liaised with the teaching sections to participate, and as a result, we had our beauty students who were actively face painting green hearts on faces. We had our electrical trade section who had a working display of energy efficient lighting. We had our plumbers who displayed water saving devices, and we had water taste testing as well. Willoughby Council came and set up a stall, plus helped us develop our Indigenous garden. Wires and the Energy Ombudsman had stalls as well. There was a waterless urinal on display and a worm farm competition. And the Student Association was involved in making this a carnival-like atmosphere with gelato, music, raffles, and proceeds going to environmental causes. They also organised a native plant giveaway in conjunction with the council, which was a very popular way to draw in the students. Another popular part of the event were the book trolleys of weeded books from the library, no pun intended, where our campus community enjoyed nabbing a bargain or two. And the library also used this day to promote our CSRO ebooks and online databases, the Sustainability Reference Centre and Environment Complete, which are both EBSCO databases, as our library colleagues will know. And we advertised the event with posters around campus and in the library, as well as in a library newsletter to our staff. This slide shows our Green Heart Day stalls and activities that we set up outside the library. On the left, you can see students from the Promotions and Marketing course designing the Green Heart logo. And on the right, you can see the finished logo on the Green Heart t-shirts that we had made. These pictures show the worm farm composting being demonstrated on the right, and on the left are people at the Say No to Bottled Water table.
Our St Leonard's Campus Environment Committee has been successful over the last couple of years in winning 2 grants. It was kind of difficult to do because TAFEs don't always win grants because we're in competition with schools and other non-profit organisations. However, the first grant we won was a $50,000 grant from the Commonwealth Community Water Grant Funds, which some of you may remember. That I think it stopped a couple of years ago. We use this money to provide rainwater tanks for a plumbing pit. So let's have, this is our plumbing pit. Now, for those of you who don't know what a plumbing pit is, it's where our plumbers get trained. It's the sprinklers up the top here just sprinkle water on the sand. So the students, when they're practicing digging their trenches and laying their pipes, they've got a fairly solid little base to work with. Otherwise, if it's just plain sand, it would obviously continually fall in on them. So before they were just using tap water, but now they use the water tank, which we were able to get from the grant. And that feeds the sprinkler system, which then just continually sprinkles water on the sand. So when the students are in their class, they can actually use the plumber's pit that's a little bit solid because the water is on the sand. So it was a really good project to do. Another tank that we had installed was for the vehicle trades area, and this was used by the students to wash down the cars when they've finished the spray painting and the car is ready to be sent away, so they need to have it a bit cleaned up. We also added 2 5,000 litre water tanks to our canteen to flush the toilets, which saves about 434,000 litres of water every year. And the grant also provided for 3 waterless urinals. So we had 2 in the canteen and 1 in the library. And this is the 2 5,000 litre tanks, and these are the toilets in this part. This is actually just the canteen area, just there. Through these tanks and other water saving initiatives, St Leonard's campus has reduced our potable water use by 60%, saved 23,000 kilolitres of water, and saved approximately 64,000 annually since 2004. Now, we do have North Sydney College here. We have recently changed our name. It's now the Learning and Innovation Campus at St Leonard's. But if we were to refer to St Leonard's, this is what we mean. Now, I've got a few slides just to show you the project. Now, this is the big tank that we installed near the plumbing pit. The plumber's pit is just this big corrugated iron building. It's the size of a big swimming pool, and that's where the sand is for the students to use. So this tank is quite a large one, and it feeds the sprinkler system. This is the tank for the vehicle trades. So they wash their cars. As you can see, the pipes come from the roof, and the overflow actually goes into the plumber's pit one as well, because that uses the most water, because that's on pretty much all the time. Well, obviously, you know what these are, but these ones are from the canteen.
Our second grant that we obtained was for $2,500 from the Teachers Mutual Bank in 2012. It was for our beautiful vertical herb garden that was installed by Atlantis Water Management, who gave us a great deal on the recycled vertical garden. And as a result, this garden and indeed the water tanks have been used as part of a sustainability trail set up by a business teacher with the library involved too. But more about that later. The herbs in the vertical garden are for use by the canteen and by the campus community to add flavour to cooking and lunches, and it's very popular amongst the students, and it shows alternatives to big gardens, and it shows that gardening is not impossible for anyone. All you need is a wall and a little sun and some water, and you can have fresh herbs and veggies. The vertical herb garden is fed from the rainwater tanks that Cathy showed you in a previous slide, which is set up to feed into each row, and so that the garden doesn't dry out. And then any excess water drips into the trough below and feeds off into another garden bed off on the side. The water tanks and the vertical garden form part of the sustainability hub around the canteen, which also includes the solar panels, water-saving taps, and recycling bins. This slide shows some of the recycling initiatives in the St Leonard's Campus Library. On the left is the large blue paper recycling bin. We've placed it near to our photocopiers/printers for the convenience of students, and we log an operations call when it's full, and it gets emptied into the huge campus recycling bins in the car park. We also have that one, that big size in the staff area, work area, as well as individual smaller paper recycling bins in the staff area next to each of our desks. I guess you could call them our unofficial filing cabinet. The slide also shows our white bin for recycling toner cartridges. Again, this is near our student printer/photocopiers, which makes it very convenient for us to recycle the cartridges. And then the last picture on the right shows our battery recycle container. We keep this on our front desk, and it's proved very popular. We get a lot of electrical trade students coming to pop some batteries in, because their teacher is an advocate of environmental initiatives, and he's on the environmental committee as well. We obtained the container from Tsu Chi Australia, a United Nations accredited NGO in Eastwood. The idea was that when the container became full, they would collect it from us, which they did quite a few times, until one day when we called, they said they had no more volunteers to come and collect it from us. But since then, an environmentally minded student who comes to the library regularly has volunteered to collect the batteries and takes them to an Aldi store for us. This Say No to Bottled Water campaign was run by Hornsby campus in 2011. A steering group was formed, including Cathy Horan and the Campus Environment Committee at Hornsby, campus management, head teachers, the library manager, graphic design head teachers, and teachers. The project team engaged with the graphic design students, working in a campus-based simulated commercial design studio called the White Room. Students were given a campaign brief to prepare suitable posters and advertising to get the message out that all need to say no to bottled water. The time frame for research and design was really tight, so library staff integrated into the teaching and learning program by researching the topic and providing print, online, digital video and library database information packs for students working to tight deadlines. The students engaged amazingly with this multimedia approach and did actually also read the print books and articles as well as engaging with the rich digital content. The results produced by the White Room student team were fantastic, engaging and diverse. This poster showcases just one example of the quality work produced by students in response to the brief. Note that the brief stated that the works should be visually engaging, but also based on factual scientific information. Library staff then posted the designs to a SharePoint for digital access by all staff and students, and printed copies of the posters are on display in all the libraries, campus libraries, and also the posters have been converted to digital signage content that is featured on library digital signage. And students, parents, and family actually visited the library to view their work being displayed, which was a great educational engager for us. So this initiative, along with the installation of filtered tap water, water bubblers around campus, as pictured on the left, tap and bottled water tasting at campus environmental expos, provision of reusable BPA-free bottles, BPA obviously being a non-toxic material, as you know, by the campus student associations, have led to a substantial reduction of plastic water, bottled water use on campus. We see this overall educational leadership and engagement approach as the way forward, rather than simply banning plastic bottled water sales in the campus canteens. As mentioned, the slide shows one of our filtered tap water dispensers in use at an environmental expo, along with taste testing of bottled water versus water from the dispenser. And interestingly, 80% of the testers preferred the filtered tap water over the bottled water, describing it as fresh, clean, and light. Over here, we just took a photo of the display in the library so that we supported this campaign with the display.
This was a great project. It was for World Environment Day last year, where the theme was Think, Eat, Save, Reduce Your Food Print. And what it entailed was that libraries across TAFE, New South Wales, and particularly St Leonard's, they were the key host, but they hosted this video conference and used today's meet to get communication going as well with the video conference for a whole day. And so some of the things were the paddock to plate process and looking at green waste. The keynote speaker in the middle part of the day was looking at what's in the food you eat, and of course he was talking a lot about endosulfans that are used, particularly they're banned in Australia now and in the US and Europe, but they haven't been banned in many of the Asian countries, and of course they get into the food chain of fish that we so happily buy and prawns that we so happily buy. So raising awareness about what is in the food you eat. Now, it was terrific because the libraries are, as you mentioned earlier, that connection point, that ability to bring people together, to advertise it, and then also with your facilities to actually host it. So that was really successful.
Some of you may be familiar with Pugwise in your libraries or council areas. We have Pugwise energy management system now installed in 2 of our libraries, Hornsby and St Leonard's campus, and we're very happy with the savings and greenhouse gas emissions reductions. The system is easy to install, based around wireless technology, so there's no cabling involved, and readily expandable. It's controlled by a series of sensors, main buttons to override if required, and modules to connect it to the power, which in turn allows us to control and schedule. We can also adjust the sensors to go on and off for certain periods of time. For instance, in our tea room, we have it scheduled to turn off after 15 minutes. So if no one moves, because they're motion sensors, the lights just go off, which is really quite good. We've got Pugwise installed on our lights, our PCs, our photocopiers and printers, the fridge, our zip hot water heater. So we've got it installed on most of our things that use up a lot of energy. The system is very smart and can be scheduled to particular timed on-off cycles. Most importantly, library staff can readily program the system through a very user-friendly software interface. Now, this slide here illustrates 1 week of the library during normal term time without lighting and appliance control. This is pre-Pugwise. When you get Pugwise, you have to collect data for 1 month before the Pugwise is actually activated. This then provides the base level of regular library use, or whatever organisation you're in. We had to use the lights and appliances as we normally would during that month. With this normal use, just everyday use, there was projected 60,158 kilowatts per hour projected use without any change in our system. This slide here shows Pugwise. This slide shows the library in a week during normal term time with lighting and appliance controls. In this case, given normal use, people coming in and out, using PCs, printers, etc., with projected savings, we save around 23%. And that equals 46,000 kilowatts per hour, per annum, which we save. Now, this is a good illustration. This is a before shot, this is the after shot. This is the ground floor and first level of our library. And as you can see, there's a big change. The before shot is quite flat because the lights are turned on when we come in and we turn them off when we leave. The after shot is on and off because as people move in, they move out, lights go on, lights go off. So you can see the substantial savings you can make, particularly in a library environment. In our particular library, we have over 724 tubes, fluorescent tubes. So you can imagine it's a lot of light. And sometimes, as you know, in libraries, not everyone's in every spot at all the time. This slide illustrates one area of the library which we call the Jacaranda area. Now, the Jacaranda area is just a little spot that's fairly empty. It's only got some tables, it's got some nice couches. Students just go up there, they read, they work on their wireless devices, they have a chat. So it's sort of like a nice little pleasant spot for people to sit. Before we had the flat, but now the lights only go on when there's people there. Much, much better. Another really good aspect to Pugwise is scheduling. You have control. It allows you to set the time so you can have the control of your lighting or your appliances. In our library at St Leonard's Campus, and that's where Karen and I work, we have scheduled some of our lights and appliances to come on at certain times. So, for instance, we have on our ground floor we have 16 computers, but they're situated right near windows. So we've actually timed them to only come on at certain times during the day. So the lights are off between 9 and 3. So at 3 o'clock, bang, the lights go on. Because that's when the lights start to get a little bit dull and you might need a little bit of extra light. However, we do, because we have control, we can actually change the lights. If it's a bit dull that day, we can actually turn those lights on for people. As this is the area. So there's our library computers, there's the lights that are turned off because we've got lots of windows, and there are all the other lights that are on because there's people being milling around. So at 3 o'clock those lights come on. And this is a look at the scheduling that you can do. So where you've got the blue, that's where the lights are on. Now we do have the lights scheduled to come on early in the morning for the cleaners, then off, and then that's when they're on. But now we can actually schedule them to go off. So they're on for a little bit of time in the morning, then they turn off until 1500 hours, which is 3 o'clock. They stay on while the library's open. We close a bit earlier on Friday, so that's why there's a little bit of a difference there. And we find the students have adjusted very well to this. They've got used to it. They've got used to the Pugwise dance they've got to do because it's sensor, and if they just sit still, the lights do go off around them. So they've got to just move around a little bit, and the lights come on. So we did educate them with that, and we also talked to them about Pugwise in all our library orientations and workshops. Yes, I know. So we do save a lot. So far we've saved, this is the anticipated savings, 14,000 kilowatts per annum. We save over $2,500 a year, but of course the main things are the energy saving and CO2 savings of over 13,338 kilos. So we'd like to continue with many other things, but obviously we can't. But we're very happy to be here today, and thank you for inviting us. And just over for questions or comments.